Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. So in this video I'm going to be sharing some tips or tricks or hacks or whatever you want to call them for Christmas dinner. So if you want to see a little bit more or maybe share some tips of your own, then keep watching. So, as a bit of backstory, I've only ever cooked Christmas dinner once before, and it was a long time ago now when my eldest, who's now 8, was only a baby, and I feel like I did a good job, but normally speaking, I go to a family member's house. We've got quite a big family on my side, and we will all get together and we will kind of share the responsibilities out. So we'll all bring something to like ease the financial impact on whoever's hosting and help out in the kitchen and just do our bit, and we kind of club together and it's lovely. But obviously this year that's not going to happen. I am cooking at home for my family, and I'm sure a lot of us are in a similar position, so I thought I would share a few things that I find useful. Now obviously I've only done it once before, however for me personally a Christmas dinner is very much a pimped out roast dinner, at least if you're here in the UK, and there are some tips and tricks that I do anyway to make that a little bit easier, or just a few things that I've thought ahead and planned for, because I don't want to be stressed out. I've got 3 young children, I want to be playing with them, I want to be having a few drinks with my other half and listening to Christmas music and watching Christmas movies. I don't want to be stuck over a turkey and panicking. So that is why I've been planning, and I've wrote down a few tips for myself, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to put it into a video because sharing is caring after all, and maybe you have some tips for me. So the first tip might sound like an obvious one, but start writing a shopping list now and put it somewhere where you can see it. Don't just rely on your brain to remember everything. So either write a list and stick it to your fridge where you can see it every day and tick things off as you go, or use the notes app on your phone. That's a personal favourite of mine, and start ticking things off as and when you've got them. It will save you so much time in the long run, and it stops you from buying like multiples, so you've not got 3 jars of cranberry sauce in your cupboards come Christmas Day and then you've got to find a way to use them all up, which, let's face it, isn't always easy. Tip number 2 is buy things bit by bit if you can. I've been doing this for a while now, so any long life items I have been buying with my weekly shops. So I've already stocked up on things like treats and chocolates and Quality Street and things like that. In fact, there's a tub of Quality Street up there, you can't see it. And I do this to alleviate the financial pressure on me, but also it just kind of saves me from having to do a mad dash around the shops closer to Christmas Day. For example, I already have things in my fridge, like I've got cranberry sauce, I've got the Bailey's cream, because that is amazing with mince pies, you need to get that, and I also have some mascarpone for the dessert that I'm making on Christmas Day, because these are all things that have a relatively long shelf life and will last really nicely in my fridge. I have chestnuts already, I've got my chocs as I mentioned, and some snacks and things like that, and I just find putting them all to one side just makes me feel like Christmas is a lot less expensive. Number 3, so this is something that I actually did at the weekend and I cannot recommend it enough. I made Jamie Oliver's Get Ahead gravy, which is specifically like designed with Christmas in mind, because gravy, it seems like such a simple thing, but gravy is kind of like the thing that brings Christmas dinner all together, in my opinion. And some gravies can be great and some gravies can be really bad. And I wanted to make something special for Christmas Day, but I didn't want to be slaving over turkey juices and like getting all hot and sweaty when everything was slowly getting cold, because you always do gravy at the end, don't you? So I tried this recipe and I already have about 1.5 litres of gravy in my freezer ready to defrost on the day. I can mix in the turkey juices at the end and add a bit of cranberry sauce to make it nice and sweet, and I am so glad that I have done it. So if you want that recipe, I will leave it linked down below. You really don't need that much stuff. You just need some chicken wings, which are really cheap, and some veg and star anise and a little bit of like brandy or port or sherry if you want to add a splash of something special in. And I'm just so glad that I've done it, so I thought I would share that one now. Number 4, this is is something that I will be doing on Christmas Eve, and I will be peeling all of my veg and popping it into cold salty water ready for the next day, so I don't have to do any peeling or prep work on Christmas Day, and it's all going to be there waiting for me in the morning. It won't go brown because it's in the water, it's going to stay nice and fresh, and then we are just ready to go the next day. And I'm doing this because even though it seems like quite a simple job, it's not too like hard, is it? It takes a bit of time. It's quite time consuming and quite like, it's methodical, and it makes a lot of mess as well. So I'm just gonna get it done. I'm gonna get it done with like a quick like half an hour to an hour, get everything prepped on Christmas Eve, and then leave it, and I don't have to worry about it until I cook them the following day. Number 5 follows on from that. Have a think about what you can cook ahead of time. So it might be pigs and blankets or roast potatoes, you know, parboil them, cook them in the oven, keep them in a covered dish in your fridge, and then warm them up the next day. Pigs and blankets you can cook anyway, cook them until they're nicely cooked through, keep them in a dish again, warm them through the next day. There are loads of different things that you can look at to try and like save yourself a bit of time. So if there's any prep that you can be doing, do it a few days before, just so that everything is still nice and fresh within its use by dates or sell by dates, but you are under less pressure and you have more oven space on Christmas Day. My next tip, speaking of making things ahead of time, is about Yorkshire puddings. Now, not everybody has Yorkshire puddings on Christmas Day, but we definitely do because we love them, and my dad's actually a Yorkshire lad, so maybe it's in my blood. But while there's absolutely nothing wrong with getting your Aunt Bessie's in, they are frozen Yorkshire puddings you can buy in the UK, if you don't know what I'm talking about, by the way. If you get those and they make you happy, you use them, that is great. But if you do want to make things a little bit extra special and go the extra mile, you do know that you can freeze your own Yorkshire puddings too, right? So basically, I will share the method that I like to use the most, and that is the volume method for Yorkshire puddings. Now, what I will tend to use is a cup measurement. So in this cup here, which are proper measuring cups, I will have a cup of plain flour, put that in my bowl, a cup of eggs. I will whisk them together until they're like in a bit of a paste really, and then I will slowly add a cup of semi-skimmed milk, and I will whisk, 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 whisk. I'll season them with a little bit of salt and pepper, and I will normally leave that mixture to rest. I will then crank my oven up as high as it can go, so about 210, 220 degrees Celsius, and let that heat up. I'll get my Yorkshire pudding dish, and I will put a little bit of oil in each of the wells, heat that up in the oven until it's sizzling hot, and then divide my mixture in between, and I'll cook them for about 20 to 25 minutes. It works every time for me. You just need to make sure that you don't open the door and peek at them too much, and just let them do their thing. Now, once you've made them, you can take them out of their little oily wells, leave them somewhere to cool, and then lay them out on a baking tray and pop them in your freezer for a couple of hours. Once they're all nice and frozen and solid and they're not going to get squashed, you can then take them off the baking tray and put them in a freezer safe bag or dish, and then keep them in the freezer ready for Christmas Day. Take them out, pop them in the oven, defrost them a bit in the oven until they crisp up again a bit more, and then you are done. And it's just like having Aunt Bessie's, but a homemade version, and I personally think that my Yorkshire puddings are really, really good. So I thought I would share that one. You don't need these, you don't need specific measuring cups because it's a volume method. So any cup or mug will do. Just make a note of how like far up it comes on that mug, and use equal quantities of flour, eggs and milk each time, and it should work really well. The next tip is get one of these, which is a food thermometer or a meat thermometer, and these are fantastic. I actually worked with Thermometer ages ago when Stanley, my youngest, was a baby, and I've kept this ever since. I think it's great. Now, cooking turkey for one of the most special days of the year. I don't know why we do it to ourselves, because turkey can be quite hard to cook. It can go dry quite easily, and this just helps you stay on top of your game. They are fantastic, and they are so worth having, because you can find out the desired temperature that your meat, your cooked, whether you've got a crown, you've got a whole bird, maybe you're cooking something completely different like beef. It will just help you get it spot on every time. You don't want a dry bird on Christmas Day. You don't want to dry anything. So if you have the ability to get one like this, you don't have to get a Thermopen. You can get loads of different meat thermometers from various different shops, but they're so worth having and really, really handy. My next tip is a bit of a boring one, but I think it really helps. Take some time over the next few days to clear out your fridge and your freezer, organize it a little bit. Like if it needs defrosting a bit because it's got loads of like ice everywhere, get rid of all of that and clean it up a bit, because if you do want to stock up on things like party food or extras that we all do at Christmas Day, then you're going to need some space for that, and it stops it being really stressful where you get home from the shops and you've got all your bags and then you're like, oh no, where am I going to put it all now? So take some time to clean them out, because I find this just helps me stay so much more organized. I know how much space I have, I know what needs using up as well, which is also really useful because it prevents waste, and it's just nice to feel that little bit more organized, especially at this time of year when you've got a million things to remember. The next one involves Christmas recipes and Christmas books. Now you might have already started thinking about how you're going to do things this year. Maybe you're going to do your goose fat roast potatoes, or you're going to add some chestnuts and bacon tea sprouts like I'm going to do. But I love going through all my Christmas books every year. I have 4 that I tend to read through, and I thought I would share them really quickly. So if you did want any inspiration or suggestions, then you've got a few that, you know, come tried and tested. So the first one is Jamie Oliver's Christmas cookbook. As I mentioned before, I'm making his get ahead gravy, but I love his recipes and I love his books. He has some fantastic ideas for leftovers in here, or just other like Christmassy recipes that you might want to do, like fudge. This one is spiked with whiskey and clementine, which sounds amazing, and it's just a great book to have. He also has cocktails in the back. We love a Negroni, and he's got one in here. He's got one for hot buttered rum, he's got one for White Russian and Manhattan, or winter old fashioned. So there's loads of things that Mark and I would like to try in here, and we start to go through these and make a note of things that we quite like to do to make it extra special. 2020 has been dire, so if you want to go through some Christmas recipes and make your Christmas Day just that little bit more exciting, then go for it. I do not blame you. Another one that I have is Nigel Slater's Christmas Chronicles. I like to just read this because he writes so nice, but again, he has loads of recipes in here that are really worth looking into. An oldie but a goodie, and quite a traditional one, is Delia's Happy Christmas. She has some proper, like, you know when you just want to make it like mum used to make kind of thing. Her recipes are very traditional, and she has all sorts of ideas for starters or sides and like tips and tricks like that. But my personal favourite has to be Nigella's Christmas. Now, I know that she pronounces microwave weird. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. But she just seems to be like the book that I come to every year. There is a cocktail recipe in here actually called the Poinsettia that I make every Christmas without fail, regardless of whether I'm hosting or not. So this is the recipe here. So if you want to make it, you'll need a bottle of Prosecco, 125ml of Cointreau, Grand Marnier or Triple Sec, and cranberry juice, 500ml. And you basically mix it all together and pour it into wine or champagne flutes, and it's so good. And it's just one of those things that it takes me back to Christmases of the past. And her book is just fantastic, really simple to use. She has like little ideas for nibbles and, you know, Christmas sprouts here, with butter, chestnuts, nutmeg and Maldon sea salt, and it's just a bit exciting, isn't it? So I love these. So if you do get a chance, if you don't have your Christmas books, get online, do some Googling and get some recipes in your arsenal that are going to make your day extra special. Now, my next tip might seem like a daft one, or like maybe old-fashioned, or maybe just obvious common sense, but get yourself an apron. It doesn't necessarily have to be a festive one, but if you've made all of the effort to, say, dress up on Christmas Day to make yourself feel good about yourself, or you're just wearing some really extra loungewear that you don't want to get covered in like goose fat, wear an apron, because you don't want to ruin your outfit. I know this sounds like a really simple thing to say, but if you've gone through all that effort to make yourself feel good, don't skip on something like this, because it helps. Mine has pockets as well, so I can put things in there like my phone and maybe I don't know, I was going to say a glass of wine, but I think that would get messy. But the point is, it's really handy to have, and it just means that when you're done, you can whip it off and you still feel a little bit fancy, and you can just get on and enjoy yourself. So I have 2 more tips before I go, and the first one is to utilise your slow cooker. So if you do have one, this can be your friend. Now, the first thing you could do is keep your gravy warm in your slow cooker. If you've made Jamie Oliver's Get Ahead gravy, then that can go in there, and you can defrost it in there, keep it nice and tasty and warm, and ladle it out, and jobs are good in. Another thing that you can do, if you are able to have guests and you are joining up in bubbles or anything like that, get your mulled wine in your slow cooker. So when people arrive, you can ladle them out a nice festive glass of mulled wine. I recommend putting some cinnamon sticks in with this, some slices of orange, maybe some apple if you fancy it, and maybe a few extra glugs of like brandy or amaretto can be nice, or also rum, just to give it a little bit more of a kick. But it's a fantastic way to use your slow cooker. You don't need to use your hob then. You've not wasted another pan on warming something else up, and you've got like a festive like punch for your guests when they come in, which I think is genius. And then other ways that you can use it would be that you can keep your mashed potato warm in there, you can keep your veggies warm in there if you want to. You could use it as a hot chocolate station for the kids, so make your hot chocolate in there, serve it up with some marshmallows on the side, some wafers, sprinkles, whipped cream, and that can be something fun for the kids to do on Christmas Day. The opportunities are endless, but if you've got one, think of ways that you might be able to use it, because it'll save you some space on your hob and your oven, and if you can make things easier for yourself, why not? So my final tip, and actually the most important tip, is that this is just a meal. It's just a meal. It's just a extra roast dinner, and we all want it to be special. We all want to really enjoy ourselves. But if you need to cut corners, if you want to buy things in, get things ready made, then you do that. I'm probably going to get ready made stuffing because that's how I roll, and I'm okay with that. If you want to cut a few corners and do things to make your life easier, then do it, because you deserve to have a really special Christmas too. And while Christmas dinner is lovely, when all is said and done, your family are going to be way more interested in having a happy you on Christmas Day than they are about a perfect Christmas dinner, trust me. So that is the end of this video. I really hope that you enjoyed it. If you've got any tips for me, please leave them down below, or for everyone else that's watching this or reading the comments, because you know, sharing is caring. If you've got like a recipe that is foolproof and works every time that you really want to share, or your favorite Christmas cocktail, leave them down below. And thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a fantastic Christmas, and I hopefully see you all very, very soon.